Welcome to this next edition of the Beacon of Light podcast. We're with Jayne Reynolds. Now, like so many of the podcasts that we have been doing recently, I met you at the amino acids conference that I went to up in Ohio. And what I want you to do now, if you don't mind, is I want you to share with everyone a little bit about who you are and your background and what you hope to accomplish with everything you're doing currently. Can we do that? What you do?
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
brought you to this? All that. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. I'd be happy to. So my name is Jayne Reynolds, and I'm board certified in holistic nutrition. I've been through the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition, which I think brought us all to the conference in Ohio, and also through Amen Clinics, their board certificate, not board certification, sorry, their certification as a brain health professional. I got into this, like I love the nutrition world. I loved figuring all those pieces out, but I know my story is centered around getting well emotionally by changing the way that I ate. And that's what drove me into this calling, as it were. It's really not even a line of work. Like I would do it for free if I could, because I just love what I get to do every single day. But it started right after my first child was born. I had an E. coli infection after her birth and went to the hospital and ended up having 7 bags of antibiotics over 3 days and didn't think much about it. They sent me home. About a week later, my anxiety attacks started, and those went on building in intensity over 7 years till they were just debilitating. I was not able to function at all as a regular adult human being, let alone take care of my 3 small little children, or be a good wife, or show up, or do all the things that I needed to do. So a friend recommended that I seek out help from a naturopath. I had tried medication. I was on SSRIs and benzos. They weren't fixing it. I had tried talk therapy, and that wasn't fixing it either. And so I went to my
Hold on a sec. Let me
yeah.
interrupt you quick. The SSRIs and benzos.
Yes.
Did you have any side effects with those?
Well, no, from the benzos, I just felt calm. I was on a very low dose, and I split my one pill into 4 doses throughout the day. That that just kind of took the edge off of everything. The day that I decided I didn't want to take those anymore was when I got lost inside a building that I was very familiar with. And I thought, I think this is really messing with my head. I couldn't, I worked in assisted living, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of this U-shaped building. And I thought, maybe if I can't figure out how to get out of a building, it's probably not safe to drive, right? If I'm taking this medication. So that was one of the things. The SSRIs were numbing. Like I didn't feel anything. I had weight gain. I was not. So it wasn't like, I know again, I was on a very, very low dose. But it definitely impacted, I'm sure it impacted sex drive. It definitely impacted weight gain. And it just left me numb, like not being able to deal with all of my, or process through the feelings and emotions that I had. Just kind of a panacea band-aid over the top of it all. Yeah.
Um, and that's when you started thinking, and listen, so I did, this is my third of 3 podcasts this day, and all 3 of the podcasts. First one was with Shelley Joe.
Yeah.
Then I just did this last one. Literally got off just a few minutes ago with Mike, the Colonel, that talked about the omegas, right? And it's just been a common theme, right? Which is, of course, how is our brain affected by the foods we eat? And when I say, how is our brain affected, what I mean to say is, how are we? How is our quality of life? How is what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis affected? Oh, and moreover, you mentioned, you have children, your husband. How are the lives of the individuals around us? It's not just us, right?
Mm-mm.
We have people that are important to us that are affected in an adverse way, right? Because of the foods we eat,
100%.
right? And so, when we hear the term "we are what we eat," that's the truth. right?
Yeah, and I think it goes even further than that. Our teacher in school used to tell us that we are what we can absorb. And when our gut is absolutely inflamed and we're struggling with leaky gut, we can't absorb all the nutrients that we need. And we don't know how, our body then doesn't know how to process because it doesn't have the building blocks. We talked so much at the conference about how we not only need the aminos, which are the smallest part of a protein, but we need all these beautiful cofactors as well that we get, the B vitamins, the C vitamins, the minerals that we get in all of our vegetables and fruits and the side things that go with our protein sources. And then we obviously need our healthy fats as well. If our liver and digestive tract and gallbladder and all those pieces are not functioning properly, we can't even absorb the nutrients that we need. And that was the point that I was at. My gut was so inflamed that every time I ate gluten, it was triggering the anxiety attacks. And when I took gluten out, my anxiety attacks stopped in 1 week. But we also had been working with the naturopath and working on getting amino acid therapy in there to help support brain function as well. And that was, life saving. Like it enabled me to get off of the SSRIs and the benzos. I've been off those, golly, more than 13 years now, and just stayed off because of the shifts and changes in diet and then the supplement therapy.
So you used the term leaky gut. We've
Yes.
all heard that term. I want you to tell us exactly what that means. What does leaky gut mean?
Yep. So you have tight junctions, or you're supposed to have fairly tight junctions inside your digestive tract that hold all the pieces in where they're supposed to be and prevent them from getting out into the bloodstream. And when you have leaky gut, there's something in there called zonulin staples. They can start to break down, and it can be anything from antibiotic use to constant stress or maybe even ibuprofen use. There are medications that we take that break those down. And when that happens, undigested, they're micro proteins, right, get out into the bloodstream. When they get there, the bloodstream says, I don't know what this is. I don't recognize it as self. Therefore, it must be an enemy. So I'm going to boot up my immune system to be able to clear it out. And it creates all kinds of symptoms. So if you think about when you get an infection, a cough or a cold, then your immune system goes into overdrive to clear that all up. Well, that's what's happening with leaky gut. Those food proteins are getting into the digestive tract, and the body doesn't recognize it itself. So it is mounting an immune response, trying to clean it up. So then you're left feeling, you might feel fatigued, exhausted, you might be bloated, you might have stomach cramps, you might have headaches and migraines, sore throats. Strep is often associated with delayed food sensitivities, ear infections in little kids. So there's lots of ways that your body like responds when that leaky gut's going on. And then we can do things that help to strengthen and rebuild the junctions in the digestive tract so that you're not spilling those proteins out into your bloodstream all day long.
What can we do?
There are a couple of different wonderful products out there that are very, very helpful. So the first thing we do is we take out anything that's causing harm for at least a season, right? So if we know that you have delayed food sensitivities, which we test for, we take those out for a while and we start cleaning everything up. So if you don't have to take ibuprofen today because you now don't hurt because you took your delayed food sensitivities out, right? Then we're starting to clean up the things that are going in. And then we check, make sure there's no candida overgrowth because that's a bit of a criminal in the gut and causing some of that leaky gut issue. So no yeast overgrowth. And then we can use products like Mega Mucosa. They've got an IgG product that is designed to help rebuild and strengthen the mucosal lining of the digestive tract. So it's basically along those lines. And then repopulating the good bacteria that are in there. And we do that with a couple of things. We do it with a variety in our diet, and then also probiotics if you need it, or fermented foods. Now, that's nuanced because if I've got somebody in my office who's dealing with like high histamine levels, sometimes those things don't sit very well, and we have to kind of work around it. But for the most part, that's kind of the 30,000 foot overview of how we go about restoring it.
You mentioned a test.
Mhm.
What is that? And how does somebody get a hold of it? What test is it and how does it work?
Yeah, so it's delayed food sensitivity testing, and it's looking for the IgG response in the body. Now, there's like 5 different immune responses in the body. We're all really familiar with IgE because that's the one that causes all our allergies. So you eat something you're allergic to and your throat swells up or your eyes itch, right? The IgG is a really long, strong protein designed to protect you. It's part of your immune system. And we can see whether the body's having strong reactions to food by testing that IgG molecule. So it's a blood spot test. You poke your finger, you fill up the little circles on the card, we send it off. I do mine through Mosaic Labs. And then they'll send us back a report showing us which foods you're having the highest intolerance to. And they test 180 foods, yeast and candida. So that gives us a really good overview. You can do an elimination diet. You can try taking gluten out for a whole week in all of its forms and then reintroducing it a week later. The reason I don't love that is because it might be like for me when I got mine back, it was gluten, dairy, and eggs. So I took gluten out and it made a big difference, but it wasn't fixed all the way because I didn't know dairy and eggs were also a problem. When we get the test back in a couple of weeks, we've got answers in front of us that gives us a really clear plan that's individualized for the person who needs the help.
So as you described that test, it sounds very similar to the test that Mike was talking about to measure the balances, or in this case, the imbalances of the omega-6 and 3s in our diets. What you're saying, and so he described you give a little finger prick, and you put a drop of blood on. I think he said on 3 different surfaces. You then seal it in a way. There's instructions. You stick it in an envelope, and it sends it to a lab. Forgot where he said, over there, right? Mm-hmm. This is very similar to that, but now what we're doing is we're not talking about the measurables of or the imbalances in the omega-6 and 3s. What we're talking about now is if I understood what you said correctly, this test is going to show us the problems that your body is having with particular foods, or possibly.
Yes. And it's critical because there are so many connections with delayed food sensitivities and extreme mood responses. So in our family, gluten is a huge trigger. My middle daughter in junior high went through suicidal ideation, and it wasn't till we took out gluten. Back then I was still figuring out all the pieces, but we finally I had a parent of the moment year, and she made biscuits, and that's all she ate all weekend long, and she was so ill the next week. And so I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt the biggest ingredient she's had all weekend is gluten. So we took it out, different child altogether within 1 week. The suicidal ideation's gone away, the emotional lability, ups and downs, crying, extreme OCD, it all just kind of melted away because it was triggering all this inflammation in her brain. And it does the same for me. And I've watched it do it for other people as well.
As I'm listening to you talk, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever watched the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
A long time
It's
ago.
a great movie, but in that movie, I think the daughter, the spoiled, rotten girl, her name is, I think, Veruca. Her father is a very wealthy man, and while he's got his entire factory, frantically opening these Wonka bars, right, throwing the chocolate away, looking for, and while that's happening, she's up in the office. I want my Wonka bar. She wants it right now, right? And we, as a society, have this instant gratification scenario. So I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about myself personally, right? I could play the guessing game and start eliminating things and I could achieve this. And I'm thinking, I don't really care what this test you're talking about. Honestly, I mean, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. I mean, for me, it's worth it to spend whatever it's going to cost for me to get that test and do this much quicker, right? Mm-hmm. Because, and I've mentioned this before, because you talk about, whatever it is, I think you mentioned gluten that was causing you all kinds of problems, right? And I liken that to my cheese puff story. About 3 or 4 years ago ish, I hadn't eaten all day. It was right about this time, and I was real busy. And across, I'd been eyeing this bag of cheese puffs, and I love cheese puffs, right? I mean, who does not love cheese puffs, right? they're so.
Corn and cheese.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's not even cheese. And it's not even, it's just, yeah. But I'm looking at this bag and I'm like, I'm really hungry, but I shouldn't. And finally I break down and start eating these cheese puffs. And even talking about it now, my mouth is starting to water because the first, and you get these sensations on the side of your tongues, like when you eat a lemon. And so I'm enjoying these cheese puffs like no other. And then about a third or I don't know, quarter of the way in, I'm realizing, wait, I'm not feeling very good. But it's very subtle at this stage of this bag of cheese puffs. But I continue to eat. And I get somewhere along, and it's not a small bag, it's a relatively large family-sized bag of cheese puffs. And I'm a fair way through, and I realize you really screwed up. And now you're at the point, or at least I was, there's nothing you can do to change the way you feel everywhere, including up here. All you can do now is just like being on a roller coaster. Once that thing starts rolling around, you ain't jumping off. All you can do is hold on, right? And then I realized what I'm eating, and this is a very simplistic view of what we're talking about. What you're suggesting, though, is that you can figure out the foods that you are having problems with this test, right? Do the test and stop eating those foods and watch how your life is going to transform.
Yeah.
Is that where we are with this?
That's where we're at with this. And there are, like, if you get accidentally dinged, like my recommendation is not to go eat the thing and then, take the supplement afterwards. But you can, like, my daughter carries activated charcoal with her. So she accidentally gets into gluten, which has happened more than once. Then she will just take activated charcoal, and it can help to minimize some of the symptoms that she's experiencing. But it's not a free pass, right? That stuff is doing damage to your body. So we don't want to just placate your body by doing activated charcoal after you've done that.
It's a quick fix.
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm enjoying thinking about, and I'm fascinated at the prospect of doing this, getting a hold of that test, right? Mm-hmm. Doing the test, sending it off. And, but okay, it's one thing to talk about these foods that are problematic. But to me, it almost seems like it's not as productive as it should and could be if we do not also implement proper diet and proper supplements. I mean, so it's just, here are the things you shouldn't be eating. Yay, goody for you. Stop eating those things. That's gonna have remarkable results, right? Mm-hmm. But we also need to not only remove those substances, poisons, because that's what they are to your body, right? And then introduce the proper supplements, right?
Right.
Does that sound?
Take out the bad, put in the good, right? We're working constantly on cleaning things up and putting in things that support your body. The answer to the cheese puff problem is that you had not eaten all day long. If you had had protein at breakfast, protein at lunch, protein midway through the afternoon, you probably would not have gotten to the point where you're so hungry and desperate for cheese puffs, right? We can help, fend off those cravings for those things that don't support us anymore. And the thing that we also have to remember is there's a dark world out there where those food scientists are really creating those foods to set the jowls off, to make you crave it, to have the perfect melt, to keep you addicted. So we're working on supporting your body. I'm about to do a 21-day sugar detox, reset your body, get yourself back online, because sugar is one of those big culprits in life where we have a lot of cravings and destroys our body and our health, right? But we can avoid those cravings by just simply feeding ourselves properly throughout the day, filling ourselves up with nutrients so we don't crave those things.
I broke my fast with poison, right? And it's not that I was craving the cheese puffs. Well, not the sense that I was wanting some food, right? Yeah. So it's very, and I've learned, right, that the cheese puff story, it's a great opportunity to learn, and I've since then, really kind of changed my diet. I mean, there was a point. I mean, I'm 175 pounds right now. There was a point at the height of my junk food career that I was 245 pounds. a remarkable influx. And of course, I didn't lose all that weight in a short period of time. But at the height of my weight gain, I had a heart attack, which is a clear sign that my body is telling me you either stop doing this or you're just my body, I'm gonna shut down on you, right?
Yeah. It's a wake-up call.
It was a wake up, and that's exactly what I took it as. And then, of course, the other part of the equation, as we're talking about diet, is exercise, right? And so there's a whole host of things. And, look, I often tell people, if you're in a situation where you are, very overweight, you don't feel good, don't try to do this all at the same time. Baby steps, right? Because, you're not going to get to the level that I am, or I'm not going to get to the level somebody like, say, some of these people that, are just running marathons for, that baby steps. Right. And, I mentioned this on the previous podcast. I replied to a Facebook post where somebody was saying, how do we reduce inflammation? And all these people were making all these suggestions. I think turmeric was one, do this, take that. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I put in capital letters, stop eating sugar. Stop it. And it's very difficult to do because they put sugar in everything, and they do it because, well, they want us to be unhealthy. And I know that sounds insidious, but the fact of the matter is, the way our foods are produced, there we go. How we are how are we, what is it called? The way the food is produced.
Our ultra processed foods now.
Processed foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you say ultra processed, but by the way, that was a common theme at that conference you and I were at. Right? Processed foods. My suggestion, I know you're going to agree with me, when you're at the grocery store, take some time and read what is on that label. And and the larger that list of ingredients is on that product, the further you should run from it. My suggestion, I know you're going to agree with me, is when you're buying your foods, get that ingredient to be a 1 or 2 liner.
Yes. If you go around the perimeter of the store and pick up lettuce, there is only one ingredient, lettuce. If you go, right? If you go up and down the center aisles of the store, then you will see, like, you pick out your cheese puffs, your Doritos, your Cheez-Its, right? All these products, they're literally made with the same 12 ingredients over and over again, just chemically formulated to come out in different ways, to look differently when you buy them. But it's all the same: sugar, corn, dairy, wheat, soy. These are our primary ingredients, and our bodies thrive on a variety of foods. And all we're doing is eating these same 12 foods, overly processed, stripped down of everything good, all the vitamins added back in because there was no nutrient value left in it whatsoever. If it's got a super long shelf life, like, things should rot in your fridge. This is, they should break down. They shouldn't, they shouldn't last forever and ever and ever. They're designed to.
This is, by the way, you obviously have no idea what Mike and you remember Mike, the at the conference. And right. So, there's no way you could know what he said, because he said, I'm almost going to say, people that are listening to both these podcasts are going to say, oh my gosh, this is uncanny. When you go to the grocery store, stay on the outer fringes, right?
Yeah.
Right? B, if something that's in your refrigerator doesn't rot within a 1 week period of time, you should stay away from it, right? Because he said the exact same thing, right? And I talked to him about, since I listened to him and the rest of you all that were speaking there talk, I went to Costco and I bought myself a bunch of fish. And I made sure to get not the farm-raised fish, but the wild stuff, right? And so, it's the diet is crucial, but also taking the right supplements. Let me ask you this: this test that you're talking about? How do we get that? How does that work?
Yeah, so there are many practitioners across the states that can do that for you. I am one of them.
What is it?
It is called It's called I believe they call it delayed food sensitivity testing. I get it through Mosaic Labs, and it costs, if you do it through me, it's $420 to do it. And that includes the appointment to review it and give you some suggestions. Like, it's the worst thing in the world to hear, I can't eat gluten anymore, and I don't know what to do, right? I don't know what tastes good, but I've been doing this for 20 something years. I know what tastes good. So I can give you a list of foods that you don't have to waste your money on, because it tastes awful. So we're giving you some support at that appointment as well. But again, it gives you a clear roadmap very, very quickly of the things that you need to remove. And if there are many, like if we've got 12 to 15 on there, not that we're diagnosing, but that is an indication. I've seen it in my clients before. There's more likelihood of having leaky gut if there is a higher number of food sensitivities. If it's just one or two or three, we can usually do a season of pulling them out for a little bit, do a little bit of gut work, increase the probiotics, that kind of thing, and then reintroduce after a few months. But if there's a lot, then we need to do some work together. And that's, one of the benefits of getting the testing done too. You can see it, whether or not you need the extra help.
Well, I think for me personally, I don't know. It just seems like it's almost like a no-brainer, right?
I feel like it's a no-brainer. I did start with, an elimination diet, but after the gluten, I went back to my ND and said, all right, how do we test to figure out what the rest of the things are? And that's when we did the testing. And the other reason it's so important is because we think about things like gluten and dairy, but I've had people come back and their celery was way off the charts, or blueberries. And these are healthy foods that you wouldn't ordinarily take out for any season. You lean into those things because we think they're healthier, but it might not be healthy or right for you. And this is the step into kind of that personalized nutrition plan, where we're making it just for you.
Well, I think what we're talking about is the proper balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so let's talk about this then. If someone wanted to reach out to you,
Mm-hmm.
right, and talk to you about getting the test, and then obviously talk about getting that consult, right? That's going to cost them. Would you say 400 and what was it?
420.
So $420.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they go? How does that work?
Yeah, I have a shortened bit.ly link. So bit.ly /meet with Jayne. Chat with Jayne. And it's all lowercase. And my name is spelled Jayne.
So
Um, or you can find me on my website at sycamoreandsagenutrition.com.
spell that last part, what you just said. That's the
Sycamoreandsagenutrition.com.
one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like the tree. So SYCAMORE and AND, Sage, SAGE, nutrition, NUTRITION.com.
Now they can go to your website and
Mm-hmm.
they can navigate through there to
Yeah, I've
discuss
got a
with you.
contact page. Mm-hmm.
Contact page where they can contact you, get the test. They'll
Mm-hmm.
send it to me in the mail. I'm sure there's a little kit that's going to let them prick their
Mm-hmm.
finger, right? They got to clean their finger with alcohol or let it dry or
Yep.
something. Make sure that
Mm-hmm.
it's clean, right?
Yep.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. Then
Yep.
there's an envelope that they can stick that all back into,
And
right?
the nice thing too is, Tony, if they're having a hard time, there are some people who really are very squeamish and don't like poking their own finger. So if you need a lab draw kit, we can do that too. You just have to pay the lab draw fee, and we have a list of providers
Was
who
that
will
like,
come out to you and draw
or
for
maybe
you.
you can go to LabCorp if there's one, a lab, can you,
You have it's on the list. So the company that I do my orders through is called Rupa, and they have a list of phlebotomists who often many times they'll come to you and then they'll do
oh,
the lab draw for you.
and then you have that list that's available. I guess there's like a bunch of folks all across the U.S. depending on where you
Yep,
live.
they have a big map. Mm-hmm.
They have a big map, and they'll send somebody. You just got to pay for that to have happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess you're sending a vial of blood. But
Yes, in
come on,
that case.
here's the thing. Just for you all that are listening, being somebody who used to draw blood for a living when I was in the army, and I did some phlebotomy for a little bit. The needle that they use to draw your blood is much larger, and it's more painful than doing the prick on your finger. Just in case you're curious,
I know. Some of
I
them just
mean,
can't handle. I've just had a young kid and they cannot get past. They were just passing out trying to poke their
how
finger and
funny.
squeeze the blood drops out. So it's easier to just send them for the lab draw.
Let them get the lab draw. So
Yep.
they can go to the website, get the information they need about that, and then you will then take a look at those results, and then give them a consult,
Mm-hmm.
right? in reference to what they can do
Yep.
to take a serious look at a change in their diets. And does that consult, although also I think, come with some recommendations for
Yep.
supplements as well, right?
Yeah, it comes with if you have got a lot of stuff going on, then my next step is probably going to be to recommend working with me, and we're going to take a big look. I have an initial appointment that's $247, and we go through the nutritional assessment questionnaire. We go through an amino questionnaire that looks at where you might be deficient, especially if you're dealing with mental health stuff, and we look at the risk of pyroluria too, which is basically causes some nutrient deficiencies as well.
Okay.
So we go over all of those things, and then we can get a really clear roadmap of what's triggering the underlying problems so that we
Okay.
can help get you sorted out and get you the recommendations that you need.
Okay. Any last final words you'd like to share with our folks?
I think the biggest thing is that I joke a lot that I'm a harbinger of hope. I spent a lot of time feeling very, very ill, 7 years, and feeling like I was hopeless and being told that by doctors that this was just normal. I should expect to feel like this. My hormones were out of whack, whatever it was that they could come up with. But that was not the cause. The cause was my diet. And cleaning it up has made a massive difference, not just to me, but to all of my family, to my
Yeah.
children, and now to I've got grandchildren on the way. I'm so excited because we get to just leave this incredible legacy of hope for everyone. And we have to start waking up and realizing and recognizing that what we're eating today, for the most part, is not food. We don't even see that. We stop at Starbucks and think we're grabbing this scrambled eggs and it's food, but it's really not. There's so many extra things in there, including mold
Yeah.
inhibitors that just destroy your gut. Like these foods are not real
Food.
food. We need to get back to whole food.
Well, and I saw something somewhere where this woman had, and I don't know what possessed her to do this, but she had a hamburger and French fries from McDonald's that was purchased back in 1970 something,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see that the bag was very old. And as she pulled the stuff out, there it
Mm-hmm.
sits, right, intact. The bun,
Mm-hmm.
the hamburger patty, right.
Yep.
And so I often tell people, fast food is fast, but it is not food.
No, it's not food.
It's actually not. And so once again, the resounding theme that I took from that conference with everybody there was processed foods and eating a proper diet. And if we
Mm-hmm.
will do this, we literally it's so simple, right? But if we will eat a proper diet, right? Follow with because we can't get all the and as you put it, I say vitamins, you said vitamins, right? But we're not going
Yes.
to get everything we need nutritionally from the foods we consume. We're going to have to take a look at some
Mm-hmm.
supplements. We're going to have to.
Yes, we've
Agreed?
become just nutrient deprived over
Yeah.
time, and so it's important to fill in the gaps and kind of I feel like reload our systems.
Yeah.
And it takes about a month for your body to get used to all those things and kind of put them to work and know what to do with all these things you've suddenly given it.
Yeah.
But I've also seen like the aminos for the mental health piece work in as quick as 20 minutes. So we have incredible options out there. It's just not common knowledge, and we can make a big difference for people and for their families.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for
You're
coming
very
on.
welcome.